Hello and welcome to Devotion to Writing. In this video, I'd like to talk about this idea that as writers we have to read a lot, or we should be reading a lot. And again, this is a topic for discussion that was brought to my attention by a subscriber who wrote me a wonderful letter asking me a few questions about writing. So I wanted to address that question about do we really need to write in order to write? Do we really need to be reading a lot? And what are the pros and cons of reading applied to our writing practice? So that's what I'm going to address in this video. So do we need to read a lot as writers? Yes, and sometimes no. So to answer that more specifically, the no part is shorter. The no, we don't really need to write, I would to read in order to write, is if the reading becomes a way to procrastinate, if we're reading because we are trying to glean or to come to some greater understanding about writing, and whether this is reading, say, other novelists or poets, or reading books about writing and how to write, if we are reading to get more information before we start, then stop reading, because you're not going to get ever that information, that little tidbit, that bit of wisdom that is going to get you to the page, because you've set yourself up, I think, because I've been here, you've set yourself up with this idea that once you get this information that you're seeking, you'll be able to start writing. It's not going to happen. You need to start writing. You'll find your way through the writing. So don't allow the reading to be a way that a distraction from your writing, or something that you do to procrastinate getting to the page. Write first, then read. Having said that, I will say that reading is it's really beneficial for a number of reasons. Of course, it can educate us. Whether we're reading a book on how to write, we're looking for inspiration, or we're reading a novel or poetry, we can see from these writers who we admire, who have created these works that we find beautiful, successful, well crafted, we can learn a path forward for ourselves. We can, say, teach ourselves about line breaks, about form in poetry. We can learn about plot. We can learn about character development. We can just see from these other writers who have done it the technique, and start to read for that, and be reading for that as a way to teach ourselves. Having said that, these writers that you're going to, I would say, if you're going to analyze, make sure that you are in love with their work. Make sure that their work is, for me, it's certain writers, they transport me. I think I want to write like that. I want to emulate that. I want to aspire to that voice, to that cadence, to that music, to that register of language. And so that then becomes something to write towards, to learn how do you do this, and I want to emulate that, and I read them to bring them into my body. Kafka has a wonderful quote, says, he writes that a book must be the axe for the frozen ice within us. And I just love that idea. That's who I want to read. Those writers like the Portuguese Brazilian novelist Clarice Lispector. Her books, her writing takes that axe to the frozen inside of me and breaks up that ice, and she transforms, the way I think about writing. William Carlos Williams was another who did this for me early on in poetry. He took an axe to that frozen in me, who I had no idea how to write poetry. I didn't know what poetry was when I first started writing. I was very confused about how to begin, and I read his long poem, Patterson, and that shattered everything. I thought, you can do that with poetry? It can be that encompassing and take in that arc of history and emotion and geography and geology and do all of this? Wow, I want poetry. I want to try this. So we can read for the inspiration. We can read for those registers that we haven't quite gotten to in ourselves, but we recognize them in ourselves as, I would like to write like that. I want to try to write like that. So we learn from other voices. We learn the structure. We learn plot. We can learn character development. And as I mentioned, don't read to procrastinate. And as far as how to write books are concerned, so books on writing and prescriptions for how to do it, you're going to find they run the gamut. Everybody has a theory on how to proceed, but what I think you're going to find if you read every one that's ever been written, you're going to find they have one thing, at least one thing in common, but that one thing is write consistently. You have to show up and be on the page daily. And this is the most important thing. This alone, I believe, and I think this is, again, quite universal prescription, that this alone takes care of a lot of the problems. That you learn to write by writing, that you'll figure out your plot, your story, your poems, the questions you have by doing it. You will answer the questions about what's best for me, what's my approach, do I handwrite, do I type, what time of day do I write, what genre am I writing, what are my characters saying. Every question you have about writing will be answered by doing it consistently. This is the thing. And this is also the thing that you discover is what sustains you in your writing, is the dailiness, because there is something in this practice of showing up daily that becomes a very deep practice and part of our personal life. We begin to weave it into what we're doing daily, how we're living. It becomes enmeshed. It becomes just how we live. And so the dailiness is really, really important. I would say that above all else is what matters. Write consistently, write devotedly. Of course, I would say that this is devotion to writing. I'm all about cultivating the daily writing practice. So, hey, that's pretty much it on reading. I think read what inspires you, read what you would like to emulate, learn from it, but don't read to procrastinate. Don't read thinking that you're going to get one more bit of information and then you'll start writing. No, write and read to support, to bolster, to inspire your practice. Here's a writing prompt. We've gotten this far. Let's do a writing prompt. I would like you to read something from an author that you admire, something that takes the axe to the ice in you, to that frozen ice in you. And so it could be a poem, could be a short story, a line, a quote, whatever it is. Read it, drink it in, feel it, meditate on it, and then write in response to it. Write how it makes you feel. And let that be your writing exercise for today. So thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please subscribe if you liked this video, and I'll be doing a few more videos in the next week in response to this wonderful letter that I recently received from a subscriber. So I hope you write deeply today. I know that if you do write, you will write beautifully, because beautiful is what you are. Blessings.